This is Bookie's Place. Sit back, relax. It's going to be amazing. We have a beautiful session for you. Listen, you know we don't talk about the glam. We don't talk about the glitz or the glamour. We talk about the grit, the grind, the things that really make you. And we bring people that are role models in the society to show you how it's done. So listen, guys, it's going to be amazing. I have a very special guest. Sit back, relax, take your shoes. Yeah, you can take shoes off. You're in your house. I'm so excited. Bookie, calm down, calm down. Okay, I'm calm. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the one, the only Iretiola in the house. As I call her, I want you guys to give her a Bookie's Place welcome. Drum roll, everybody. Drum roll, everybody.
Hey, my lady. It's so good to see you.
It's so good
Hi.
to see you. Wow.
Look at you.
Look at you. I'm ordering her.
The shoe is on the other foot now. Yeah?
I know. You gave me one of my very first interviews ever. Look, I'm all grown. How are you, Auntie?
I am very well. I cannot complain.
You can't even complain. The whole world loves you.
Do they? The devil is a liar. We're going to do this.
He's a liar. The devil is a liar. People are already saying that this is going to be a great conversation. And see, let's get into it. This is Bookie's Place. We don't talk about the awards. We don't talk about the accolades. We don't talk about the wins. We talk about the grind, the grit, the things that really make people. The part of you that we don't see, that we don't get to see. People see Mr. Ireti, they want to be like you, but they don't know what made you. And so that's what we talk about here. And we start from the very beginning. How you were born, where you were born, and then we take it from there.
Okay, I was born in Lagos, Nigeria in 1966. At the age of 2, my parents migrated to America, and I was there up until the age of 11. At the age of 11, my father came back with me. My mom stayed behind. Absolute culture shock. It was horrible. You know.
How did you adapt?
I'm a resilient person. Do you understand? I'm very resilient. So sharp. I began to pick up the language. Sharp. I began to make friends. Some of them were cool. Some of them were not so cool. But I'm the kind of person that rolls with the punches, and I will adapt to any given situation, which can also be a minus, because people who adapt easily tend to take a lot of BS. They tend to absorb a lot of BS under the
pretext,
under the umbrella of adapting, where really you should be cutting some things off quickly, like, you know what, no, I'm not having this, no, I'm not doing that. So essentially I adapted, but it was a huge learning curve for me. It took me many years to develop confidence. You won't believe it to see me now. All of these experiences kind of helped to strengthen me as a person, and taught me how to trust my own judgment, how to be my own person, and how to trust my instincts, and having taken a decision, to stick by it and see it through. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. So how did you get into the scene, the industry, the movie scene?
How did I get into it? Okay. Acting was something I could always do. Primary school, secondary school, there's a production, you get called upon. It was something I could do naturally. It wasn't anything I thought I would pursue as a career. Now, I finished school. I was in Jos. I was working with the Industrial Training Fund. And I was pretty frustrated with life. You know, when you get to that point where you know that you're created for so much. I was a level 4 officer working in the public relations department of the Industrial Training Fund as a radio operator. Wow. And I knew that I was cut out for so much more. What that more was, I hadn't figured that out. But I was just generally dissatisfied with my life the way it was at the time. So one day I was watching television. I'd come back from work and I was watching television, and I stumbled on this production directed and produced by Lola Fanny Kayode. I don't know if people watching are old enough to know who she is. The title of the production was called Mind Bending, and it was starring Joker Silva and some other chap. It was a story of a couple who were married and her husband
It
was
has
into
the
drugs
volume
and
has
the
gone
fallout.
again. Yeah, okay, this is better. Yes.
Okay, can you see me now? Is it okay now?
Yes,
And
it's better now.
and all of that. But long story short, in the 30 to 45 minutes while watching that production, Auntie Joke literally had me in the palm of her hands and took me on such an emotional journey. It was unbelievable. You know when you sit down in one place and you can't look anywhere else. And after watching that performance, it was like a light bulb moment. The light just went. You know, people call it a light bulb moment or a eureka moment, and I just knew that this was what I was cut out to do. I knew that this was what I wanted to do. I knew it like I knew like I knew the sun would rise the following day. You know, it just became clear. So for many years, I sat on that desire. I couldn't even voice it out. I mean, this was in the era where you don't tell people you want to be an actor. You want to be a what? It's not acceptable. This was a time where people who studied theater arts were considered, you know,
Second class.
theater arts was something you studied because you couldn't get law or English. Do you understand? So for about 2 years, I sat on that desire. I couldn't voice it out. And this might be a testimony for somebody who is watching. You need to be able to speak out your dream. You need to be able to voice it out. You need to be able to spell it out. Otherwise, it's just going to remain on the inside of you. So there was a friend of mine who came to my house. You know, we're very intimate. I was like, listen, you've been despondent. And it's been going on for what do you want to do? What do you want to be? And for the first time since I had that light bulb moment, I opened my mouth and I said something very cheesy. I'm like, I want to be a star. I didn't say I wanted to act. Oh, can you imagine how cheesy that is? I said I wanted to be a star. He says, okay, what exactly do you mean by that? What do you mean by you want to be a star? I said, I want to be an actor. I want to be a star. It's okay, fine. Now you've articulated it. Okay, you want to act. How do we go about doing this? I said, I don't know. So this was the era when ASU would go on strike for months incessantly. And, we had gone on strike during this one time. I was sitting in Jos, not doing much. So I said, okay, let me come home to Lagos. Home, I use home in a very loose way because I lived in Jos, but my parents were here. So I came to Lagos. There was a very good friend of mine back in the day, Nduka Irabo, who came visiting, and I said, you know what? I want to act. I have a burden. I want to act. I don't know how to go about it. So very casually, and this is how the Lord works. I said it once. And it's very casual. Okay, fine, no problem. I have some friends in GRA Ikeja who are into this business. Let's go see them and see what will happen. I said, okay. And on that day, on the appointed day, he came, took me like a knife, like a hot knife cutting through butter. Do you understand? Just part. I will never forget the effortlessness with which it was done. Parked his car, we went straight into the office. We didn't even stop at reception, didn't talk to him. It was hi. Went into the manager's office. It was John. Hey, what's John's? I can't remember his surname now. If it will come to me. He was a manager at Whitewood then. They were a production company in GRA. And he says, okay, this is my friend. She says she wants to act, and I know that you people are into this thing. Is there any way, we could help her? So he looked at me and said, okay, well, there's an audition taking place here next week. She can come, but that's all I can guarantee is that she'll get a foot in the door. It will be entirely up to her to ace the audition and possibly get a role. If she does, fine. If she doesn't, there's nothing I can do. So I said, okay, fine. Fantastic. Bouquie. I didn't sleep well. From that day to the 1 week, I was just, imagining, or I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know, you know. Prior to that, I had shot something in Jos. My first professional job was in Jos in 1995 with the late Madadzi, and it was called Widows and Hopes. I had done that, but this, now we're coming to Lagos, the Lagos, where big things are meant to happen. So on this fateful day, I come in for the audition. I walk into the room, and my knees literally start shaking. There's Patrick Doyle there.
Buckled.
Iretiola Doyle, big names, people that you've spent years watching. I'm like, okay, Ireti, it's time to sink or swim. So I always have a calm exterior. My insides can be full of turmoil, but that calm exterior is always, I take my seat, and the audition begins, and it was a pretty dynamic audition because there were like 20 of us seated around a board table, and they would just call on you to read a certain character. There was nothing like one-on-one. So they called me to read for like 5 different characters. I kid you not. And for each time I kept telling myself, see, you're so useless. You're so bad. They can't even find any place to place you. They tried you here. All of this is going on while I'm reading. They tried you here. You see your life. You see your life in the open. Blah, blah, blah. And I read for 5 different female characters that day, including a character called Sharifatu, which was a Hausa-speaking young wife, So that went. I left feeling very despondent. As far as I was concerned, I had failed. I get the call. Congratulations. We would like to cast you in the role of Sharifatu, the young Hausa-speaking wife. And I think that was because I spoke Hausa during the audition. And that's for any young actor who is watching. When you're asked to audition, come as close to the character as possible. So yeah, that was it. It was the role of Sharifatu in the production titled Jaded Options, directed and produced by Patrick Doyle Media.
Ooh.
And I did this while I was still in school. This started in my 3rd year while in the university. Yeah.
Wow. Well, so you said some things that are like key ingredients. So what we do is we give nuggets on how to succeed, So you've talked about resilience. You've talked about being ready, finding your character and getting to know because even if you're not an actor, whatever it is, intimate yourself with what you're going to do so you don't get there and just, get,
you're blank.
Blank
Yeah.
and all that.
In fact, very early in the journey, there was something Patrick told me, because not only was I an actor on the show, I now got some sort of part-time job as a production assistant with Patrick Doyle Media. So he told me one day, I remember one day we were driving, and he told me very early in the game, he said, listen, let me warn you. Let me give you heads up. It wasn't a warning. It was let me give you heads up. Let me prepare you for what you're going to experience. Said, listen, the industry is not going to like you. When I heard that, Bouquie, the wires in my brain touched. And I used to be so hot-headed as a young girl. I used to have such knee-jerk reactions to things. You would say something, and I would just, without asking.
You escalated.
That day, it's like, what do you mean? Are you trying to say I can't act? Are you trying to say the industry as it is currently constituted will not accept you? In fact, they're going to shut their doors against you. And the sooner you know this, the better for you, so that you can take it on board and find a way to navigate if you know that this is really what you want to do. I didn't take that message. In fact, I didn't receive it at all. I rejected it. I shut my ears to it. I shut my heart to it, and I kept going. Work was few and far between. I will be honest with you. There were many occasions, and I say this with utmost humility, where you will attend an audition and you would see who they cast. It wasn't in my place to feel that you will wait your turn. You will pay your dues. But I was young. I didn't know all of that at the time. So I was full of resentment. I used to be very full of resentment. You go for an audition, you won't get the role. You now see who they cast and you'll be wondering, how did this happen? Do you get? So it was about 2 years into this journey. I had the occasional role here and there, but it wasn't happening as quickly as I thought it would. Bouquet, I was very arrogant in my youth. When I was coming to Lagos, as far as I was concerned, I had it all worked out. I'll come to Lagos, I'll do 1 or 2 minor roles, and boom, bam, 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 superstar. Indeed. 2 years in, I was getting really frustrated. I was at the point where I was even beginning to question my career choice. Fortunately for me, I had Amaka Igwe in my life as a mentor, who had a massive chip on my shoulder. So 2 years into the journey, I was pretty frustrated. I had gotten to the point, things were not working as fast as I thought they should. Things were not working out as I had planned. And I was like, what's this about? I had gotten to the point where I was beginning to question my career choice. So on this particular day, I called up my mentor, Amaka Igwe. I said I needed to see her. I was in an emotional turmoil. I get to our office and I begin to weep, and I'm complaining bitterly about not getting work, about being passed over, about essentially everything that Patrick said would happen happened. And I kept crying and I was sobbing. I said, you know what? As far as I'm concerned, I'm beginning to question my career choice. Should I even be in this business? Let me dust my certificate and go and look for a job. Blah, 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 blah. And Alka just kept quiet. You know, she gave me time to pour my heart out and everything. She was chewing gum that day and she was looking at me pretty curiously, like I was some specimen. And then she was quiet. And then she just said, rest your feet, oh. You haven't started playing your music. When they start playing your music, now you go dance, Taya. For some reason, that resonated with me. In short, she was telling me it wasn't my time yet.
Wasn't your time.
Go do whatever it is you need to do. Go, do something. Fortunately for me, I had other skills. I learned to be a broadcaster. I learned to produce. I learned quite a lot of stuff at Patrick Doyle. Patrick taught me a lot. He taught me how to produce. He taught me how to present. At some point, I was saddled with the responsibility of producing a television show, Oge, my fashion show, which I produced and presented for 10 years. From producing that, I got headhunted to present other A-list shows. There was Morning Ride. Do you remember Morning Ride?
Yeah.
Back in the day,
yeah.
I presented that for a show. Patrick and I presented that for a short bit. From there, I also had the privilege of being a lead presenter on Today on STV. From being a presenter, I got headhunted to MC events. So I was working. I just wasn't acting. But ironically, every 2-3 years or so, the Lord will bring me a script. And I said the Lord because at this time in Nollywood, you had to. This was when the Alaba boys were in control, and they literally could make or break you. They decided which faces could sell films. They decided who the lead characters were. They decided who the superstars would be. Do you understand? So yeah. I recognized that the scripts I was getting at this time, like between the year 2000 and 2010, I understand fully that the scripts that I was getting at this time were people who crossed 7 mountains and 7 seas and came to look for me in particular. Do you understand? But the funny thing critical acclaim. They will be huge successes, and they will keep my name relevant till the next one came around. Can you see the glory of God? I would do one film, and for the next 2, 3 years, we will still be talking about that movie. And that's how it kept on going, and that's how it kept on going, and that's how it kept on going until one fateful day, I got a call. I mean, this was in 2009, 2010. I was good. I had a fantastic job. I was with the lead presenter on Today on STV, which was a cushy job. You wake up in the morning, you go to work, you do a live show between 7 and 9, and then I have the rest of the day to myself. And I was paid handsomely for those hours, for those short hours of work. So
Which
I
one
was
did
good.
you have me on?
I think you were on my show. I think you were on Oge. And did you ever come to Silverbird?
No, I came to your house.
You came to my, then it was my show. You were on Oge with Ireti. You were on my show.
Okay.
So I was good. I was working. I was, without realizing it, I had created a primary career. Fame and fortune came to me via broadcasting first, before acting. So that's another tidbit. You see, you might be on a journey, you might be heading somewhere, but don't be afraid to explore along the line. You never know what you might find. Do you understand? So today I'm an actor that has been trained as a broadcaster, and it kind of affects and improves how I operate. Because I have production knowledge, it informs the way I conduct myself while on set. If you know how much trouble people go through just to make an actor look good,
Yes.
girl, you behave when you get on set, and you will tone down on your diva-ness or divahood or whatever word that we want to use. Anyway, 2009, 2010, my friend Michelle Dede called me up and said, Ireti, I know you're happy with what you're doing, but you did say that it was acting that you really, really wanted to do. That's where your heart. I said, yeah, it's okay. Mnet is auditioning for Tinsel. That, are you sure you want to go? And the chip on my shoulder was still there. I said, well, I really don't think so, because 2 years prior, when I wanted to audition, they snubbed me. So I was still being uppity, and she was like, it really doesn't matter. That was 2 years ago, and they didn't let you audition yet then. Now your audition. Now there's an opportunity. Why don't you just go? Blah blah blah. I formed a little bit, a tiny bit, but I decided to go because hey, that is my first passion, and Tinsel was a huge platform then. So I said, okay, let me go for this audition. So I went for this audition. I was auditioned by one of our, I think she was a producer back then with Mnet. I don't know I don't think that she's still with us now. She's South African. Her name is Alison. You know how it is when you go for an audition, they might give you 2 different characters to read. So me, I always like to play the long game. I'm the kind of girl that has a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, and a plan D. So I looked at both scripts. One was for Monica Ade Williams, and one was for a character called Sheila. Now the principal character of Tinsel back then was Fred Ade Williams. So I did some fast mathematics, like, okay, Monica Ade Williams is likely to stay longer in the show than Sheila. So let me polish this one to perfection with the time that I have, and then I will rough this one. So I focused all my attention on the Monica script, and then did what I could with Sheila. Time to perform them, because you walk in, they will give you time to read the script, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then when you're ready, you do your performance. So after like 30 minutes of prepping, I now said I was ready. And okay, which one would you like to do first? I said Monica Ade Williams, and I did the Monica skit, and it was, I kid you not, it was so good. The cameraman forgot himself, left the camera, and started applauding. And Alison had to give him a stern look, like, what's wrong with you? John, dude, what's wrong with you? And then it was time to do the Sheila character. And I did the Sheila character. She now, out of the blue, she now said, okay, can you do that for me one more time, but this time in an American accent? okay, I can do you an accent, but you have to tell me ahead of time so I can think. It's like shifting gears for me. Some people are gifted and they can just go into it very quickly. For me, I need to mentally shift my gears. So that kind of threw me off. I attempted it, but deep down inside, I wasn't satisfied with what I gave. But hey, I had left it all on the floor with the Monica character, so I'm like, okay, you know what? I think I left enough on the floor for them to be able to judge me adequately. Jehovah Lord, in your hands. And I left, I bade them goodbye and I left.
Your hands.
I have a testimony. I've told this story to a few intimate friends. It might sound weird. I kid you not, I bade them goodbye and I went to my car. And as I was putting the key as I was opening my car, I distinctly heard that quiet, still voice. This is probably one of the very few times that I've heard that quiet, still voice distinctly. Not an impression, you hear it distinctly. And it went, go back and ask to do that second one again. And I really don't know how to ask for things. I hate to put myself in a position where I need to ask for stuff. I think it's a bit awkward. So I'm like, The second time, the quiet still voice said, go back and ask to do the second one again. And I stood by my car arguing with myself, how am I going to go back? Audition that you finished, how are you going to go back? That's not the way it's done. And can you go? Standing there arguing with myself.
Yourself.
The third time, I kid you not, the third time there was emphasis. I said, go back and tell them you would like to do the second audition again. And I literally went, vocally, and I went, whoa. I now went back. I knocked on the door. Alison came out. I said, I know this is not conventional, but I'm really not satisfied with my second audition. Can I please do it again? She paused. She gave me a long look and she smiled. She's like, okay, if you don't mind waiting for a few minutes, sure, why not? So I waited a few minutes. She brought me in. If I've done something once, I've done it. It is in my hard drive. And I know that you need it with an American accent, Abby. So I went in and I did it again, this time to my satisfaction. And I left feeling satisfied. It was 3 weeks later. I remember exactly where I was 3 weeks later. I was taking my daughter to go watch a film at the cinema in Yaba, the Ozone Cinema in Ozone, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Ozone Cinema in Yaba. When the call came in, my Oga Rogers criminal called me. I said, congratulations. We'd like to inform you that we like you for the role of Sheila, the second character I went back for. And wow. I went, whoop, whoop, thank you, blah, blah, blah. And that's how that journey began. And what? We're in season 13 now. But here's the clincher. I arrived Tinsel just like any other character, did my bid. 2 years into the show, I think a year or two into the show, they married my character off to Fred Adi Williams, the lead character. Okay, wow. Looking good. That, and that takes you from a bit character to something major. And then a few months after we shot the marriage scenes, we went to SA to shoot the honeymoon scenes. Mm-hmm. And while we were shooting the honeymoon scenes, the same Alison, because she was in charge of that shoot, the same Alison, after a long day we were having dinner and drinks and we were just talking. And she goes, do you know that your character was meant to come for a short season and go? I was like, really?
They rewrote
So this is 2 years old. How come I'm still here? And she goes, well, you just arrived with big guns. There was no way we were going to let you go. So we needed to find ways to incorporate you into the story more and more. And, I could only be grateful. But here's the thing. Give of yourself. Acting is probably one profession that you will have to serve. You will serve it all. You will work it all before it begins to work for you. Mm-hmm. There is no such thing as a small character. Play each character as if it is your Oscar-winning performance. You never know what can happen. You could be a big player today, and from the level at which you play with and how much you give of yourself, that role can be expanded. You never know what can happen. So you need to give it your all. You need to give one scene, 10 scenes, lead character, waka your waka pass like no other. Find ways to stand out. continue to wear your red shirt. Sooner or later, the right person will take notice. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So
Articulately said. Wow. So, until you
yeah,
stood by the car and you were talking to yourself, this show is
I've
primarily about those voices that tell
I'm
you
telling
you are
you,
not good enough.
three times distinctly, go back, and ask to do this thing again. So yeah, that did happen. And we're in season 13 now. I've been on the show for over a decade. The land has been green for me there. I mean, you know how many movies you have to shoot across the African continent, and we're seen in different parts of the world. And it was a huge platform for me. Playing Sheila is a character that is multi-layered. Do you understand? You can stretch. It gives you room to to show your it gives you room to show range as an actor.
Versatility. Yeah.
Absolutely. So from there, other roles began to come. But you see,
Open up.
things had shaped in such a way that I was now an actor with broadcasting creds. I was already famous and well known on television. So if a producer was going to move to me, they would
Mm,
have to move different. Do you understand? So there was like several layers of respect placed on me. So it gave me some kind of edge. Do you understand? Not just in my ability to bargain,
mm,
but even in the way I am treated in the industry. So it was all those years of waiting that I thought I was waiting, I was actually being prepared and cooked to the right degree. You have to be cooked to the right degree. You have to be ready. It's not just getting up one day and saying, I want to be this. And it's not just for acting. It's for anything you want to do. You need to get the training. You need to put in the work. You need to, better to start from the bottom up. That way you understand what it is that you're doing.
mm.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Would you believe if I
Wow.
told you I started as a
You know,
production
in
assistant?
this season, you started
Would you
as a
believe it?
production assistant.
That is even too advanced. I was a gopher. You know what a gopher is? Go fetch. That was my first job in this industry.
Wow.
Absolutely. Go fetch. Go and fetch this, go and fetch that, attending to actors and things like that. I started from the very bottom up. Absolutely. I say that with pride. I've earned my
Wow.
stripes.
Wow. And now you're celebrating 25 years.
Alas. You
Alas.
see me smiling.
Alas. No, but because staying power, sustainability is acquired. Some people just feel, oh, I'm not feeling it, so I have to up and go. You know, a lot of people, especially in this generation, they want microwave this, fast food that. They don't know how to wait. You know, they don't understand the process. They don't understand what it takes to become. You know, so if you were to speak to this generation, any of them watching right now, that just wanted like that, oh, I'm done. That audition didn't work out. I'm just going to do this, you know, speak to them right now and just give them like
Well, first and foremost, I think honesty is key, and
honesty.
not just about my business, whatever. I don't care what it is you want to become. You have to be honest with yourself.
Mm,
Is this your calling? Do you like this? You may not know how, but at least you have to have some level of interest in whatever it is that you're pursuing. It is that interest that will propel you forward on your journey. It is that interest, that passion, that thing that people call passion and desire, that will keep you in the room even when doors are being shut. Do you understand?
mm,
That is what will make you stay the course. I find that people who are quick to throw in the towel,
mm.
check it. They probably really don't have a passion for that which they claim to be pursuing. It just seems like it's working for other people, so let me try it.
Try
So
it.
for that for that set of people, my advice to you is, yeah, try, especially when you're young. That's what your teenage is all about. It's that is when you're supposed to be exploring yourself. If you have the opportunity to do internships in different areas, be it banking, be it acting, be it in whatever industry, seize it. What are you doing? you're testing it out for size. Does this work for me? Is this something I would like to pursue? And you know, there's a difference between your occupation and your career or your passion, or the different genres. There's that which you do to pay the bills, and that there is that, and it might not necessarily be that which you know, that which you are passionate about. Do you understand? So as a young person, once you've decided that, oh, this is my passion, I'm passionate about this. This is one thing I would do whether or not I'm paid for it. This is the one thing I would do for free. Okay, if there's something you love to do, whether or not you're paid, that might be an indication of where your passion lies. Begin to pursue it. But your pursuit should be intelligent. You should pursue it intelligently. This thing that you're passionate about, is this something that can earn you money in the early days? If your answer to that is no, you may want to find a job. And I find that we're all blessed with multiple talents. We just haven't tapped into them. Do you understand? So you might be a gifted hairdresser. Maybe you know how to braid hair. You can be doing that while you pursue your acting career. Do you know how much it is to do, especially now in this day and age of coronavirus? You know how much it will cost to bring somebody into my home to get my hair done. Do you get? So you can be doing that while you're pursuing your passion. You're earning some sort of income that gives you some level of independence, so that you don't need to, so you can extract yourself from situations that, you know, might be diametrically opposed to your principles and your soul. Do you understand? And you can pursue your passion in a way that doesn't demean you. Do you get? But if you say you're passionate about a thing, you should be able to stay the course. I often say to young actors, rejection is a large part of the business that we do. It took me a while to come to that understanding. Till today, I am still auditioning. The difference is that out of a mark of respect and at the level at which I play, you are invited for private readings. It's still an audition. The only difference is that as a mark of respect, they will invite you to come in at a particular hour to read, you know, just you alone in the presence of you will still have to perform for a panel, but you're not struggling with a large crowd of people trying to get in. I have been rejected. Do you understand? I have heard no. There are roles that I've wanted badly that I did not get. But I understand now, and I can say that now because of what? I have 25 years in my pocket. I now understand that you cannot play every role. You will not always be the flavor of the month. And this is important for young actors to know. Just because you say no, a no is not an indictment on your craft. It doesn't mean you can't act. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just simply means that you're not what they need at this time.
The fit.
Exactly. You don't fit this particular project. And here's another thing. If you're an actor who goes for auditions and you're getting callbacks, that's a good thing. You're getting called back because there's something special they see in you. They just haven't found where. Exactly. They're taking a second look. Nobody takes a second look at something that is completely useless or something that, you know, they have no need for. If you're getting callbacks, forget that you've not been cast yet. If you're getting callbacks, you're on the right path. There's something interesting about you. There's something you're doing right. They're just probably looking for the right fit. There are so many other things that come into play when they're casting for a project. It could be your skin color. Maybe we're looking to cast the mother of the family, and they're done casting daddy and the kids, and everybody is light skinned. Do you understand? Are they likely to cast a dark skinned person as their mother? Not likely. Maybe they're looking for a tall person for this role and you're short. Maybe they're looking for a slim person for this role and you're fat. For this role and you're slim. So there's so many things, so many elements that go into decision making when we're casting for a project of any kind that goes way beyond just your skill. So don't take a no as a blow. It shouldn't, don't let it knock you down. You dust it off very quickly. Yep, your feeling of disappointment is legitimate. I feel disappointed too when I don't, get that which I am pursuing. It's legitimate. Deal with your disappointment, lose the resentment, lose your sense of entitlement. We can smell it a mile away. It's not a good smell. It rubs people wrong. Because quite frankly, unless you are the executive producer, and I mean unless you are the one funding the project, nobody owes you anything. That's the honest truth. It's a job.
Wow.
And if hundreds of you audition for one role and they pick somebody else, why do you think you did more than that person that was picked? Do you get what I'm trying to say? So keep a positive mind. Don't let the shut doors stop you. In this business, you're going to hear you may hear several no's before you finally hear that yes. Trust me, that yes is worth the wait. It's worth the pursuit. But be honest with yourself. Do you have the talent? That's one. And is this the business? That's two. If you can answer those two questions in the affirmative, keep it moving. Keep it going. Keep wearing your red shirt. Sooner or later, the right people will take notice.
Wow. Sooner or later, the right people will take notice. Auntie, listen, I wish I could take you from that phone and just bring you into my sitting room right now. I want you to share with us one time. You've been talking about closed doors. I want you to share with us one time that made you cry. But what you did, because it's not enough to just tell people. You have to practically equip them on how to do it. If you tell me, Bouquie, just get over it. How do I get over it? What's on the mountain? If you say, Bouquie, talk yourself, whatever it is, when that happens to you, give us practical tools on how you got out of it. An incident that they said no to you, you got home, you were upset, you cried, but what did you do?
Let me tell you, Shay, I took a few minutes ago. I told you, Michelle told me about the Tinsel audition, and I was upset. I didn't want to go because 2 years prior I had been snubbed. Let me tell you about that. And this is my understanding from the outside. Do you understand? Because like I said, there's so much going on the inside that you are not privy to, that you are not privy to, that you will never be privy to. So I can only tell you this story from my point of view and how it affected me. Absolutely. I'm sure there was so much more going on in the background that I probably will never be privy to. So caveat, this is the story from my perspective. Now, when Tinsel started, the year before they ever started, there was a call for audition. And it sounded good. For crying out loud, this was African Magic Mnet doing this thing. There wasn't any bigger platform than that at the time. So I wanted to audition. I had management at the time. So I told my manager, I want to audition for this thing. Everybody wanted in on it. And the producers, the people who were commissioned to handle it were like, no, we do not want any established name. What established name? Which name had been? My name hadn't been established like that. So yes, we had done a few jobs and things like that. But hey, established? No, not in my books. Like, no. We want fresh faces. People have never acted before because you people have no idea what it is we're trying to do. We're going to be sequestering people. I'm like, if you want to sequester me, by all means, sequester me. But and at least let me audition. I think it's only fair that you let me audition. If I audition and I don't fit the role, that's a different thing. But I will not audition. That's not. It wasn't fair to my mind. So I called up my management. I can be very persuasive when I want something. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know how you guys are going to do it. I'm not taking no for an answer. I at least want to audition for these people. That's all. Let them, whether or not they take me is a secondary. And back then, not even till today, my belief, it might be true, it might be false, but my belief is that once I get into the room, and audition for a role, you will have to look at me twice. Do you understand? That is my belief. That is my mindset going into any audition. So my manager, to the best of my knowledge, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Now that I'm even telling this story, to the best of my knowledge, went back and forth. They now called me up and said, "Okay, fine, we have gotten an audition for you." Yay, good stuff. As I said, as far as I'm concerned, all I need to do is get into that audition room. I will convince you that I am the one you're looking for. So, okay, the audition was set up for Saturday, blah, blah, blah. They gave us the address, everything. And there were about 7 of us. Myself, Najite, I think Theodore was an. Let me leave all the other names. About 6 or 7 of us that day on a Saturday. All of us pumped up, ready to audition and ready to kill it. Okay. We got to the venue. We got to the address that we were given. Shorien, the padlock that was on the gate wasn't on the inside. Padlock.
It was on the outside.
So that you know that there is nobody there. The gates were shut. There was this thick chain, iron chain wrapped around the gate, and this humongous padlock was on the outside. There's no bigger snub than that. Do you understand? There was no. So we looked at ourselves. We couldn't say much because there was disappointment. There was some level of disrespect. Because why make me go through all the trouble of coming here when you knew you were not going to be here? When you knew you were not going to audition us? Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I don't think I cried, but I was angry. I was offended. I was deeply offended. I felt disrespected. I felt on top waiting now. That was what informed my reaction. Fast forward 2 years, when I was now in a relatively comfortable job, I was doing okay, and I finally got the call to come on audition for this show that I wanted 2 years prior.
And you were like, mm-mm.
Now, just imagine if I had let my pride get in the way. Just imagine if I had not gone for that audition 2 years ago. Who's to say? Maybe my path would have taken on a different journey, but I wouldn't have the 11 years of fantastic work, 11 years of an amazing experience that I've had working with Mnet. Do you understand? So things will happen. Things, you know, you will be bumped, you'll be bruised, you will be rejected, you will be snubbed, you may be passed over. Another experience that I had was many years ago. Who remembers
We have 1 minute. I can't believe it. Oh my God.
What?
We have 1 minute left.
Oh, so how do we wrap this up?
One last word. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
You know what? I don't even know what to say.
Okay, we're going to say it.
We can do a part 2.
We're going to say it. We love you so much. Your humility.
Thank you.
There's so many things you don't even have to say that you embody, and it exudes when we see you. You know, because we see a lot of new people. You're trying to say hi, and they look at you like you don't exist. So we love you. Can we get like 50? We love you, Miss Ireti. 28 seconds. We love you so much.
I love you too. Oh,
Thank you so much.
Love
Thank
you guys
so much.
Bouquie, it's been wonderful. Let's do this again.
Yes, I miss you so much. God bless you. I love you. Thank you.
God bless you. God bless you.
All right.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.